Hello, comic book readers, and welcome to Off the Rack. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
This is the comic book show here on YouTube and across the airwaves of podcast lands like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, where we talk about comics that came out the past week, recap them, review them, tell you what we thought about them, and then give you recommendations for comics that are coming out this week that we think that you should pick up. In addition to that, we also do movies when they are applicable. For example, when a big movie like Eternals comes out, we're gonna talk about it. We did get to see it a couple weeks ago, and we were under a gag order to not give like spoiler reviews, so we didn't do that, and instead we just gave you our honest opinions. Now we're going to give you our honest opinions, plus talk more about the spoilers and post-credit scenes, which I'm sure you're all aching to discuss and get into. Before we do that, of course, we know that you don't care about that. We know you don't care more about comic books than you do about movies, so we're going to talk about comic books first.
Yeah.
Because comic books are the redhead stepchild of entertainment media. So let's jump into our super chats, of course, because we have super chatters. If you are in a position to help this channel grow, you can sponsor today's episode by using super chats. Ask a question or comment here on the show. We feel obligated to answer those questions and talk about them here on the program. Like BotSite1, who says, had low expectations for the characters because it's the Eternals and left the film pleased, wondering what people were expecting from the Eternals. I can't imagine what people could have been expecting from the Eternals, but apparently they were expecting very different things from what they got. Yes. But I don't want to talk too much about Eternals just yet, because we're going to do that towards the end of the program.
It was BatSite.
BatSite, I'm sorry. And Brian Rollins, welcome back, Sal. Thank you very much. I want to thank my intrepid and incredible co-host and wife, Tiffany, for hosting last week's episode of Off the Rack. Thank you so much for doing that while I was on the mend. Also wanted to mention that you did a great job.
Thanks.
I was thrilled to see how well you did. I got to watch the show myself. I got to jump onto it at the end with recommendations.
Yeah.
And I was thrilled by what I saw.
Well, I'm glad you're back.
Well, I'm happy to be back. I like this show. I like doing this, and I like hanging out with all of you. So let's jump into some comic books, shall we? Because there's nothing else going on. We don't have any other sponsors or friends of the channel who want to promote us or anything. So
we have no friends.
We have no friends.
Basically what you just said.
But I will say that if you want to help us out any further and you don't want to do so with any monetary requirements, you can always go to youtube.com/ComicPops and subscribe over there and get us closer to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Who knows? Maybe that'll be the catalyst that changes Comic Pop from that little channel that could to that bigger channel that maybe did. I don't know.
That would be nice.
Wouldn't it be nice? I think it would be.
I know it would be.
I agree with you. ZS Swimmer says, hope you feel better, Sal, and props to Tiffany for holding it down last week. She did a great job. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
And Sean Conwell, hey guys, is there a character you want to see brought to life and or done properly? Mine's always been Clayface and Moondragon. I feel like if you're ever going to see Moondragon, it's probably going to be in the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Although Eternals notwithstanding, I feel like there might be some surprises in store for the cosmic side of the Marvel Universe post James Gunn, because of course James Gunn's leaving the MCU probably for the foreseeable future, if not forever, after Guardians 3, which I think is only going to be used to say goodbye to his favorite characters and maybe kill off one or two of them. But yeah. The new Ethan says, hey, oh, right. We didn't talk about who we'd like to see. I don't know.
I like Clayface.
Yeah, I've always been advocating for that.
It has to be well.
Yeah.
It has to be done well.
I agree.
Like, for sure. Because
yeah.
anybody could do a Clayface. Any special effects, visual effects shop could do a Clayface, but it's got to look good.
Yeah, it's got to look great. Thankfully, because Clayface is made of inorganic matter, they're more inclined to make him look better.
Yeah. And you got to get an actor who can really swing from the fences and portray different characters.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I mean, I've always advocated for Clayface. I feel like he'd set a tone for a Batman movie where it's like, oh, it's fantastic, but it could still be gritty and detective oriented.
Yes.
Outside of that, I mean, it'd be fun to see. It'd be fun to finally see Richard Rider in the cosmic side of the Marvel Universe. I feel like that's inevitable. So we'll see that. The new Ethan says, hey, hope the whole Comic Pop crew is doing great. They are. Thank you very much. Hope you two have had an amazing day. Sure.
Thank you.
We didn't, but thank you very much for saying so anyway. Also wondering if Ethan or Ben read any monthly comics. No, read any of them. They don't. They do not.
I had an okay day. I had a nice day.
Yeah, my day was fine, but it wasn't amazing. Comics Kings, happy Monday. Imagine if Tom Taylor had control of DC continuity. who would he kill off and who would he bring back. It would be great. I feel like, it's one of those things. I know that Chip Zdarsky did an AMA not too long ago where he mentioned some things that got people's attention, which he mentioned on Elseworlds Exchange over a year ago that didn't get anyone's attention, where he talked about not wanting to write for Amazing Spider-Man because people have too many expectations about what that title's supposed to be, and he doesn't want to deal with it. He also has said on numerous occasions that he doesn't want to do it if he doesn't have any desire to write that story. And I feel like in Chip's situation, if he wanted to write Amazing Spider-Man, he would probably just write a solo book that he could do for a little while, because he knows that, like, when you can do spectacular, nobody's really paying attention. When you're doing a solo series or an offshoot, again, nobody's paying attention. But if you're doing amazing, if Spencer's run is any indication, which I feel really bad for him, I feel terrible that, like, there's no way that Spencer got to tell the story he wanted to tell twice. Editorial's going to be up there, and they're going to be messing with you and not letting you tell the story you wanted to tell. With that respect, as far as Tom Taylor's concerned, if Tom Taylor had control over DC continuity, he would not be able to do all the things he wants to do. It's because Tom Taylor has access to, like, alternate realities and different continuities, or ones that he's made up. It affords him the opportunity to do whatever he wants. If he was suddenly in charge of Justice League in the main book, he would not be able to do half the things. I mean, look at Dwayne McDuffie ran Justice League for a while, and couldn't add the characters he wanted to add because editorial said, like, just terrible things about it. They were like, if you add more than 3 black characters to the book, it's a black book, and it's a different demographic. It sells differently. And that's just skin color in the comic, not to mention the stories that he got to tell. Tom Taylor would not be able to tell the stories he wanted to tell if he was doing in continuity stuff. Speaking of books written by people who get to do whatever the hell they want.
Written by people.
Superman, Batman Superman Authority Special #1. It's a one-shot, which I forgot. I didn't realize when I read it. Which is written by Philip Kennedy Johnson and plays with the Superman and the Authority Grant Morrison series. I said something like I was going to give this book a shot, see if I was going to give Philip Kennedy Johnson his due, because I'm not thrilled with most of his work. I will say that this was good. It was a fun issue, and I forgot it was a one shot. I was almost a little disappointed, but I was actually thrilled that it was at the end of the day a one shot.
You didn't tell me. Oh wait, what is this?
This is
that's it?
Yeah, this is the book.
What?
It's drawn by Trevor Hairsine, Jonathan Glapion, and Scott Hanna, and Rain Barredo.
Well, that's a lot of artists.
Yes, it is a lot of artists. Well, they're doing a lot of different things,
okay.
and it's done, for one, to get it out on time, and for two, I think, to create a tonal shift. There's actually an in-continuity reference to the art change, which I thought was kind of clever on their part. But it plays with the idea of the Superman versus the Authority book that Grant Morrison did, which took place in a nebulous continuity where Superman is older and he has a different costume. It's reminiscent of Grant Morrison's New 52 costume.
Okay.
And people were saying builds off of the future status quo of Superman going to Warworld to save people. I'm still foggy on why anyone gives a crap about that, or why Superman would do that. But that's what they want to do. They want to make John Kent Superman, get him out and get Clark out of the way.
Right.
So they had Grant Morrison do that book, which was fine. Like, it was an interesting book. This says not only is it in continuity, and to ignore the fact that Superman looks old in that other book, but how about Batman? So this book firmly plants it into the continuity. It says that Superman Authority book that Grant Morrison did is in continuity, and to just ignore the Grey Temples and all the other Grant Morrison stuff, and to just focus on the fact that Superman built a team out of characters from Wildstorm, and and is planning on bringing them with him to Warworld to save the day. This would include characters like Manchester Black and Midnighter and Apollo. And as some people pointed out, I think this is the first time, and this issue is the first time, that Batman and Midnighter finally meet. Midnighter, of course, being a parody character of Batman.
Yeah.
And Midnighter is an interesting character in his own right, his relationship with Apollo notwithstanding. And it's on full display in this book. Johnson does a nice job of tying together what has come before, what is coming currently, and what might be to come in the future. The idea here is that there is a Earth where the Al Ghuls took over the Earth, and they like run the place, not unlike a ancient kingdom.
Okay.
And they vanquish great heroes of the DC universe and show fealty to the like successor Al Ghul. And of course, it's like lantern rings and whatnot. But there's one token of appreciation that is brought before them, and it's the universe. I'm offering you in fealty the universe itself. They find out about Earth Zero, and so their plan is to conquer the Earth, like the main Earth, the Earth from which all of their Earths derive, because this Earth takes place in the Dark Multiverse.
Sure.
So Batman calls Superman, and he's like, hey, I need a Black Ops team of like badasses who can go to the Dark Multiverse, because you have June Moon on your team and she can transport between dimensions, apparently. And I need her to take you and your team and me to the Dark Multiverse, where we can stop these guys from coming here in the first place. Of course, if anyone's ever read a story before, you know that like they don't have the ability to teleport to that universe, but they will once we bring June to that universe. So that's kind of like, duh. How does Batman know any of this? Because he's being telepathically linked between the fealty that is being given to the Al Ghuls, the token that gave them the truth about the Dark Multiverse or about Earth Zero in the first place. Yes, I'm talking about none other than Tempus Fuginaut, who has been strung up in the Dark Multiverse, captured, if you will, by the Al Ghul family, and kept as a tortured husk of his former self in the dungeons of the Al Ghul castle. Is it Tempest? Is it just a Fuginaut? They talk about it being a Fuginaut of the races of Fuginauts, but they refer to him as a watcher who was hiding in the space between worlds, which is exactly what Tempest Fuginaut was doing during the Dark Multiverse. So it suggests to me that Philip Kennedy Johnson is a big fan of ComicPop and knows full well how much we love Tempest Fuginaut and wanted to use him on full display in this book. Hilarious stuff.
Oh.
Poor Tempest, an ignoble, an inglorious end to his kind. Spoilers for Tempest Fuginaut: he does not make it out alive. Superman and the Authority and Batman go over there. They have a big fight. It's cool. A couple of members of the Al Ghul family end up back on Earth Zero, but they get sent back.
Okay.
It's a fun little adventure that also is there mostly for character interactions, but also, I guess, just for the fun of, hey, look, Tempest Fuginaut. See how like the art changes from like where they were with Trevor Hairsine to where they end up. It's an interesting concept, or it's like it's more literal on Earth 2 or on Earth Zero.
Right. Did you say Templesmith was doing art in this?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yeah, that would be this.
Yeah,
that would be this section.
They literally go like, things don't even look like they should. What's happening? And like, oh, art or like light bends differently here, and so what we're seeing isn't exactly how it should be. It's just interesting.
Okay.
It was a weird stylistic choice. I'm not a fan of this style, but I do appreciate it, and I thought it was fun because it got the book out faster. Also because like they got to do what they wanted to do, and that's kind of fun. But yeah, so R.I.P. Tempest. We hardly knew ye. I don't think I'm going to ever get that Tempest Fuginaut statue.
That's probably not happening. You don't really want that. Nobody really wants that.
I do want that. I want him sitting on the back issue set watching over us.
Oh, but we already have a watcher.
Yeah, I have a Uatu, but I don't have a ripoff of a Uatu.
Oh, that's true.
At the end of the day, Batman Superman Authority Special is like a prelude to Superman leaving. As much as I don't want him to leave, the fact that we keep referring to Superman leaving makes me go, when are you going to friggin' leave?
Well, that way he can return.
Yeah, and then we can get that movie.
DC loves returning.
They do love the returns, don't they?
They love people returning.
Yeah.
You gotta make them go away.
Yeah, you can't leave without return. You can't return without leaving.
Yeah, they gotta go.
Exactly.
Gotta go.
Yeah. Superman says, welcome back, Sal. Should we expect reign of Sals with 4 clones? I'd love to meet teenage leather jacket Sal. I did wear a leather jacket in my teenage years, and I did kind of look like Connor a little bit. I certainly did cut out a Superman logo that was yellow and put it on the back of my leather jacket. So, there's no photographic evidence of that, but I'll be happy to admit it now.
Did you really?
Yeah. Ron Caterasano, I want a Maury episode with Martha and Thomas Wayne. I hear you, man, because that happens in a book that we'll talk about in a little while. Raj Patel, Human Target #1 was the best single issue of the week. Though Smallwood carried the book with his phenomenal art, also as a Chloe Zhao fan, I knew I got I knew and got what I wanted from the Eternals. Well, I'm happy to hear that you were satisfied.
So, did you read Human Target?
I guess I did.
I
you?
did not because I didn't have it.
No, that's funny. I thought we had it in physical. I know I bought it.
Well, I didn't see. Well, it could have been in that bag, but it wasn't on the top with all of my
No,
stuff when I
yeah.
took my stuff out. I took my things out, so I read the first 3 pages as a preview, and then that was it for me.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I bet I would have really enjoyed it.
You would have loved it. Yeah, it's great. I mean, here's the thing. It doesn't have the same punch as Mr. Miracle. It's not the same kind of like
He's
holy
hey,
shit
listen,
moment.
He's allowed to tell a different style of
It's
story.
very, it's very similar style of story. It's just that like it is very different. It's a different kind of story. I appreciate it. If you don't know who the Human Target is, Human Target's ability is basically that he gets hired to change into whoever is being a target of assassination attempts or whatnot, and he like dies for them. And then he's like the eraser. That Arnold movie.
Sure.
It's Tempest, by the way. Somebody asked if it's Tempest or Tempest. It's Tempest, like time. The Human Target, written by Greg Smallwood, or drawn by Greg Smallwood, art by Tom King. It's great. Yeah, it's really cool, and it's set kind of during the Justice League International period of the DC universe, which is really fun. The idea here is that the Human Target takes a gig to protect Lex Luthor during a function, during a big kind of like,
why would you do that?
Kind of like Jeff Bezos-esque, conference, and the assassination attempt is made, but and of course the Human Target survives and rescues Lex Luthor, or at the very least protects Lex Luthor, but then discovers that he was poisoned earlier that day with poison that was meant for Lex Luthor, and so it's too late. He has like only a couple of days left to live, and his case is to solve his own murder. Who wanted to kill Lex Luthor but ended up killing him instead? Who done it? And there's a fun little surprise where like there's radiation on the poison that was meant for Luthor, and it came from a person who has gone to a special planet, and the only people who have gone to that planet were the Justice League.
Oh, okay.
So what member of the Justice League is Tom King going to kill and or assassinate? Their credibility today.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
We are going to find out. We have a list of suspects. It's everybody on Justice League International. Rocket Red, Batman, Ice, Fire. I'm guessing it's going to be Ice.
You think it's going to be Ice?
Yes, because Tom has admitted that his one of his kids' favorite characters is Ice.
So might as well take her down a peg or two.
Right. Well, make her really important.
Oh, okay.
Guy Gardner's on that team. Martian Manhunter, of course. Blue Beetle and more.
From what I saw of the art, I really liked it. I like this kind of art quite a bit. It's Smallwood doing everything.
Yep.
So that's usually where you get some like really like spectacular images.
Yep.
Because they have control over every element of the art.
Right. Yeah. No, Smallwood is, yes. And when you say Smallwood's doing everything, you mean he's doing the art.
He's doing the pencils, the inks, and the colors. Like,
yes.
It's all him, like, completely through.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, yeah. The art in those first few pages, I was like,
yeah,
I dig this. I like the color palette so far from what I saw.
Yeah. No, it feels like a 60s Bond movie. Like it feels like, no, you know what it feels like? It reminds me of a movie starring Ewan McGregor and Renee Zellweger called Down with Love, which was like an exaggerated version of a 60s kind of like rom-com type thing. It's a gorgeous looking movie that probably hasn't aged well, but I really loved it when it came out.
Okay.
And, but it like is this hyper realistic or a hyper stylized version of like 60s American cinema. That's what Human Target looks like.
Okay.
So I would definitely check it out.
Like someone said the assassin is Gnort.
Yes, Nort is a member of the Justice League at that time. He's in the Kevin Maguire kind of like recreation of the cover that everyone's thinking.
Maybe it's him.
It's probably Nort.
He's like,
screw Nort.
Why would you think it was me?
Because you're stupid. That's why. Because I hate you, Nort.
He's like, no, I'm actually a genius.
Yeah, it's like the Jar Jar Binks is a Dark Lord of the Sith defense.
I was just going to say that. Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly where
Nort is going to be the Jar Jar Binks of the DC universe. I can't wait. It'll be fun. It'll be worth it.
Yeah.
Especially if it is Nort.
I'm honestly looking forward to checking it out.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book. I love it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, yeah. What else you got?
Oh man, well,
I got like a stack and a half.
you do have a stack. You got like a stack and a
I got a
half.
stack and a
Well, I hope
half.
you read it because it's there's a lot to talk about.
This came out and I read it.
Silver Coin number 6.
Number 6. I read this. It's written by Josh Williamson with art by Mike Walsh. This is that series that Walsh put together where there's like a running thread of a coin, a cursed coin, and we're just getting little vignettes of what like this coin. So you give writers, each a new writer, an opportunity to tell whatever they want about this item.
Yeah.
And so it all fits together and can be read together, but really the main thread is the coin.
Right.
Josh Williamson does a nice job, wants to tell a story about an arcade, presumably in the 80s.
Yes.
Here, 90s-ish.
I think it's like late 80s, early 90s.
It's probably the 90s. I think it's the 90s. And here is why it's the 90s.
Yes.
Do you know why it's the 90s?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. So here's why it's the 90s, I believe. First of all, it's about this young kid who plays this fighting game. He doesn't have a whole lot of money, obviously. Like, he almost gets kicked out of the mall for not having money. There's like this manager who works there as an older teenager who's like, not like, listen, if you saw this kid, you'd be like, dude, fix yourself up, man.
Right.
But he's like, he knows how to play this fighting game inside and out because he's there all the time. He can play all like constantly. And so like you can only verse him basically. No one else gets a chance to really play one-on-one.
Yeah, I knew those kids.
And so like, he's like, why do you ever bother? Why do you ever bother? Like, fight me. Like, I'm always gonna win. And you always pick the Crow Reaper, who's like a specific character.
Right.
And he's like, he sucks.
I always just picked characters that I liked.
Yeah. Well, he's like, cool. He sucks. He's a loser, just like you. You'll never win with him. So he ends up like looking for a coin, finds it in like the fountain. It's the coin, and you'll see what happens.
The silver coin?
I'm not going to tell you what happens. But the reason I'm going to tell you why I believe it's the 90s is, first of all, cleverly, Williamson hides like Nail Biter. One of his books. It's a pinball machine. It's a pinball machine.
Nice.
The name of the game is Horror Fighter 2.
Okay.
2 times 2, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the character options that you could pick is Spawn.
Look at him. Look at Spawn there.
Yeah, look at Spawn.
It's actual Spawn.
It's just Spawn.
Yeah. Well, it's an image book.
Yeah. So they can just use Spawn. They call him Spawn.
Cool.
Yeah. So Spawn shows up for like a hot second.
That's fun.
So I'm like, oh, must be
90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, if you like horror books at all, and there are certain writers you like, this is a great opportunity for you to pick up certain like writers that you dig, or maybe check out some other ones. So yeah, give it a shot. Looks good. Had a good time with it. 10 out of 10. would play Spawn again.
Oh sure. Well, Spawn's a classic fighting game character you'll see in some favorite characters.
Yes.
By the way, if you like Josh Williamson's work, I'd recommend you check out the Elseworlds Exchange, where Josh Williamson came on the show and chatted with us. He did pimp out Silver Coin as well, but you should come by, check it out. It's a lot of fun. Thank you very much. But yeah, Josh is always a great guest, and he had a lot of fun things to say and a lot of teases. So you might want to check it out.
How many others do you have?
Not many actually. So go for it.
There's literally another one there that I really, really, really wanted to read, and I didn't have access to it.
You didn't have access to it?
No. Sal had 2 books this week that I wanted to read, and I didn't get them.
They were in the bag.
No, you gotta put my stuff all together.
All right.
I just grabbed my stuff, and then when I started hitting last week's stuff, I stopped looking. Yeah. So I read Amazing Fantasy 3 and 4 because I had to catch up. I hadn't read 3.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh no, I was talking about Dark Knights of Steel.
Oh yeah.
I didn't read that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so I read these to catch up. So I gotta tell you, this is written by Kari Andrews, drawn by Kari Andrews. The whole thing, this is all Kari Andrews.
Yeah.
Kyle Andrews. I really love how this book looks, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this is going. But I will tell you that these 2 last issues, like, I feel like either the pacing in this is a little off, or he really needed like another issue of this, because I believe it's only 5 issues. So this is the penultimate issue.
Yeah.
So we have 1 more left. And I feel like he could have probably done 6, because there are some jumps in here and it's like you kind of got to piece it together, but we are dealing with like a fairly high fantasy sci-fi kind of world. So it is okay to make those jumps for sure. But
yeah. Most mini series are not 5, they're 6. So he probably was supposed to get 6.
Yeah, probably. I love this cover of
Yeah.
Storm as like little child Storm as like the death dealer. It's great. Again, listen, this is a very out of everything sort of book.
Right.
Characters are written completely out of character.
I see.
In particular Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
So if you really love Uncle Ben and don't want to ever see him doing something that you're like, why would you do that? This may not be the book for you.
Mm.
But just remember the fact that we're in a crazy, messed up death land, I guess. But again, really still enjoying the series. Can't get enough of the way the book looks. Love this art.
Yeah.
And we've got one more issue, so I'm super interested to see how this is going to wrap up in one issue.
Sure.
I probably easily could. I don't know. We'll see. I just think there was just a couple of things I was like, oh, maybe we didn't need so much time at the beginning. Like the first 2 issues, maybe could have been spread out a little differently.
Yeah.
So I am looking forward to grabbing or seeing this like as a whole and seeing if that makes a difference in the way it's read. But for some reason, these 2 issues just felt a little off. And I don't know what it was.
Okay. Well, I can't imagine it's selling well, but I hope it is.
I doubt it.
Because I don't know. Yeah, I doubt it, right? Like, because every time we talk about Amazing Fantasy, no one's like, my favorite book. I'm glad we're talking about
it. It's a mini series, so they're probably more likely to let it just go and like dwindle and like help maybe get a second life as a trade.
Yeah.
But I get it, folks. They're not cheap. They're $5 each, so I completely understand it.
Right.
The trade will probably be a little more economical.
Yeah, I would say so.
You know, if you were holding off on it just because of the sticker price of this, I'd say pick it up when it comes out in trade because it's going to come out in trade.
Yeah.
And let's see how this whole thing turns out.
Exactly. LF says, hey guys, super bummed Hellions is ending next month, but looking forward to the next issue. Keep up the great work, you two. Thank you very much.
I'm right there with you. Really have enjoyed the Hellions like ride.
Yeah.
But listen, you know, we've been seeing a lot of change ups in X-Men and mutants just in general. So I mean, they had a good run.
Right.
They had a solid run, and
they had a longer run than Fallen Angels.
Right. Well, and it's not like, you know, that the team is not going to be doing anything.
Right. It's not like no one liked Hellions, and so we're gonna make that disappear.
Yeah. But I'm sure it wasn't selling quite as well.
I'm sure.
Still liked it.
Yeah. What else do you want to talk about? I know that you have a couple of books that you've done.
Let's talk about the Me You Love in the Dark.
We should, because this book, as I understand it, is excellent.
It is spectacular.
I'm waiting for you to finish it before I even start reading it.
Okay, cool.
Because I read the first issue, I think.
Yeah. Issue 4, The Me You Love in the Dark, we're going to see a dark turn. And what this very much is like talking about, it's just putting on display an abusive relationship, and it's handled really, really well.
Okay.
And like really expertly. It's not something that like necessarily like I wasn't like, oh, I feel uncomfortable or whatever, but I was just like, wow, this is a really interesting way to do this because you're dealing with a paranormal entity or supernatural entity. So I don't know, it continues to be one of my favorites, and like this for some reason, even though it's a totally normal length issue, we're super fast, and I was like, I'm done.
And it's 32 pages. That's actually longer than your standard comic book.
Yeah, but it made me sad that it was done.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you just get such spectacular art. I mean, like, I'm not giving away anything by showing the last page of this book.
Yeah.
But it is just beautiful. Jorge Corona just knocking it out of the park.
Now he's doing everything too, right?
No, Scotty Young's the writer.
I know. No, I mean, like Jorge Corona's doing the art, the letter, or the.
No, he's just doing the art. Sean Francis
Beaulieu
is doing the colors.
Well, they're because they're great.
Yeah, the art team on this is spectacular. I mean, this book is just such a treat. I love every month when it comes out.
Yeah.
Like that week is a great week for me. Don't forget though, it is a mature book, so
that might be an incentive. Hey,
it might be an incentive for sure.
Written by Scotty Young.
Yeah. And I'm honestly really looking forward to this. I know this is a digital book, but I can't wait to pick this up. There's an ad here. Occasionally, an ad in a comic will actually make me excited to pick up something that like I
collected for the first time in print.
Yes, so there's a digital comic out there by Ed Brubaker called Friday. It's going to be coming out finally in November, and I'm just like I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's very much up your alley. There's snow, there's blood.
Yeah.
It's an independent
There's
comic
snow,
book.
there's blood. They mentioned Christmas.
That sounds about right.
Why not?
Andre F. missed the chance to say it last week. Wanda Tiffany was awesome. Too bad no more episode was so powerful that from back issue Sal was 90% disappeared from the off the rack.
But it was just that, like,
Yeah.
we're back on back issues.
That said, welcome back. Thank you very much. Yeah, if you're not familiar, you don't know what Andre's talking about, you should check out the Halloween episode of Back Issues that we made, where we all got to put on fun costumes and do our thing. If you'd like to see Tiffany in her full glory, not just sitting down, you can go to Instagram.com/ComicPopOfficial and check out the old pictures. We posted a triage. Me, Ben, and Tiffany in our costumes. Ben was Old Man Logan from the comics with his Hulk baby. Myself as Alan Moore and Tiffany as Scarlet Witch.
Thanks.
Of course, it was great.
Yeah,
fantastic stuff. What else you got? Oh boy,
it's back, folks.
It's back.
I did not think it would be back, and honestly, I haven't read this since it probably finished up.
No.
But it was pretty easy. I was like, what happens if I just read this? And it really did start coming back to me.
Yeah, you were like, oh.
I was like, oh right. Okay, yeah. I
didn't even know that they were gonna do more.
I didn't. I thought I read that somewhere, but you know how you like hear something like, yeah, we're gonna do more.
Well, you know they all
and then
want
they
to.
never do more.
Every creator wants to do a sequel or more of their original work. They just either can't or don't.
I do think it's hilarious that it's just called the Magic Order 2.
Yeah.
It's the Magic Order 2, issue 1.
Yep.
It's this is written by Mark Miller with art by Stuart Immonen,
who had retired from comics, but here he is.
It's fantastic looking.
Of course it is.
Such a great looking book.
Stuart Immonen, man.
So good.
This cover does not do it justice.
Everything that's supposed to be pretty is pretty. If it's supposed to be gory and graphic, it is. If it's supposed to be horrifying, it is. It's just, this is a great team for me. I really wasn't sure if I wanted more Magic Order. I was very satisfied with where the book ended.
You were.
And honestly, I loved this.
Yeah. Immonen did not do Magic Order 1.
No.
I thought that was he's worked with Rom V. I'm trying to remember his name.
Anyway,
well,
you've got the internet.
Magic Order 2.
You've got the whole internet.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah. Honestly, Magic Order 2 has a very similar feel to the first book in terms of it being Quapel. That's it. That is it.
Thanks, gang.
Sorry, now my sentence is gone.
Okay.
So this book has a very similar feel to the first series in that we're dealing with magic, but like it's set in a modern setting, and it's not like a Harry Potter thing where it's like technically there is a secret order and stuff like that, but they're not all like ridiculous and over the top.
Right.
Like they like live in regular neighborhoods sometimes. Some of them do and some of them don't. They lead rough lives. They curse and whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's got more of a grizzled like Constantine feel than it does like a Doctor Strange feel.
Yeah, right.
It leans more to that scope of magic than the other way, but doesn't go quite as deep into like religious iconography than than Constantine does.
Right.
Just this was good. This was really good. I had a great time with it. I loved the look of it, and I loved coming back to these characters and the fact that I was able to remember so quickly what happened in the first series because it's been a while.
It's been a long time. Yeah,
it's been a minute, and they have this great like Miller like Netflix thing on the back, and all I could think of was like, listen, I'm glad you took your shot there with
Jupiter's
Legacy, but I feel like
you may not want to remind everybody.
Might have been an easier entry for no reason.
Well, because the reason being that Jupiter's Legacy was a failure.
Well, I'm just thinking like it's so funny to say that because like right now like it's very easy for people to pick up something that has something to do with superheroes in terms of like TV or
certainly
movies.
Netflix thought so.
But these people are like they wear normal clothes and like you can do like the like there's like sex and this and blood and whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's what people are looking for at times.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Yeah, but that graphic on the back, I was like, yeah, no, just right there.
Yeah.
I also noticed Reborn wasn't on here.
Oh. Well, I know. I think every time anybody talks about Reborn, they're like, Sandra Bullock's working on that movie, and I'm like, no, we'll see about that. No. And it's not because we know anything. It's just because, like, there's no way. How's Batman Reptilian doing? Did you read that?
Yeah. Oh, you want me to talk about that?
Yeah. Did we talk about it last week? I don't remember.
I thought you were going to talk about your thing first.
No.
Oh, all right, fine.
No.
Well, but okay. So yeah, Batman Reptilian continues to be the weirdest book I'm reading. And I'm reading a lot of weird stuff,
Yeah.
honestly. There's one more issue, I think.
Yes. It's not over yet.
There's one more issue of this book.
And I can't wait.
I don't even know. I mean, literally, you pick up this book and it's an homage cover to Saturn devouring his son, which for me is one of the creepiest paintings that exists. Like, I don't like that painting, but I love that painting. I love how much I don't like that painting. And trust me, y'all have seen it. You've all seen this painting before. It's horrifying.
I have never seen that painting before.
You've never seen Saturn devouring his son?
No.
It is a horror show, and like that's exactly what this makes me think of.
That's cool. And you know Liam Sharp meant to do that.
It's the gnarled hands. It's the like partial torso going on there.
Mm-hmm.
All the way down to the creepy Batman quote. Batman. I don't know what's happening in this book.
Do you know? I mean, but you know what's going on. Like, you know what the story is.
I have read all of the words in these books.
And I can't tell you what any of them mean.
And I am simultaneously like...
Are you disgusted and revolted and you can't look away?
No, I am fascinated as to how this is going to wrap up and be a full story.
Yeah.
And be a product, because like, yeah, I think I just need to reread this.
Okay.
I think I need to reread this with all of like having all of it in front of me, because I don't know. I don't know. Ennis, I'm really glad I didn't ask him about this at all. Glad I just had a meaningful conversation with him as opposed to being like,
can you explain yourself?
To hell, man.
Yeah. Well, in 2 weeks, you'll find out, because the end of Reptilian is coming on the 23rd.
It is. And I am like, I'm here for it, because I don't know how I got on this train, but you got off.
Yeah. I read the first issue. I'm like, no, that's enough.
You were like, no, I'm out. And I was like, oh, I figure we're still reading this. So I read the next one. And then I was like, I guess I just
loved how much fun you were having with this book. And I was like, I'm just going to let you read the rest of it. There's just things happening.
That's
great, because we can do it on back issues then.
And like Batman is like simultaneously trying to be like Batman, but also the way that you think that Garth Ennis wants to write for Batman sometimes. So it's a little bit of both, but it's not so. But like, there's, if you're reading this, you know what I'm talking about.
I'm sure.
You know what I'm talking about, because it's a little bonkers, you know. I've read Preacher.
Yeah.
I've read a large chunk of Ennis's Constantine.
Yeah.
This is the book that I'm like, I don't get it.
Right.
What? Where did this come from?
Right.
That's really what I think my question is.
Well, I think it came from the past. I think it's like it's an old book.
No, I know, but like, and I'm not saying that like everything that Ennis is, like touches has to have like some deep spiritual meaning or like some other deeper meaning. It really doesn't. But like, it has to have come from someplace, like some.
What was the idea behind it?
Of like creativity? Where?
We'll have to ask.
Right.
We'll have to get him back on the show and be like, explain this.
So,
I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I won't even tell you what happens in that.
No,
book,
don't do it until we do it on the couch.
I can't. I cannot wait to see everyone's reactions to this book.
Dante Cook says, holy crap, I almost missed the live show. You guys are awesome. An epic show yet again. Magic Order 2 is so good, and I can't wait for the trade paperback. Nice.
Yeah, I feel ya.
You know what? By the way, I should point this out. This is just a thing where it's like, I've talked about pre-orders and how like if you pre-order your comics, you're helping them more than just by buying them off the shelf. I should mention that, let's say you're trade waiting because you want to save some money. I think that's fine. And like, as long, comic books are comic books. But if you pre-order the trade, that also helps. So if you definitely know you're going to pre-order if you know you're going to wait for the trade, pre-order the trade, because that also helps. because it sends a message to the publisher that says like, oh, well, if you're still interested in the book, it will still make them. But so that's just a little behind the scenes
That's a
notice.
it's a good PSA.
Yeah. Z Swimmer says, hey, I'm loving Reptilian. It completely owns its wackiness and doesn't apologize for it. It's just fun as hell. Wish it was oversized.
I agree with you.
It's a Black Label book. It should be. It's Batman's Black Label. It should be huge.
I 100% agree with you that like it does own it. Like this book isn't apologizing for anything, and I really do appreciate it. I think that's what I'm so fascinated by.
Yeah.
Is that it's just, here it is, deal with it. And again, since it's Black Label, first of all, the book you're buying,
Oh, it can be whatever it wants,
it can be
right?
whatever it wants, but
within reason, of course, because we know Black Label does not mean that it's unrated. It means that it is
No.
subject to all the same editorial whims as anything else.
well, this is 17 plus. But what I was going to say was
Right,
that
but you still can't have his dick in there.
No, we'll talk about that. No, but it does. There's no ads in this. At the back, there's just the cover gallery.
That's
and
nice.
I got to tell you, this Francavilla like cover is. I would own this.
Yeah,
I would own this cover. This art right here. It's beautiful.
nice.
Utterly beautiful.
It's cool.
But yeah, I agree. Oversized. I mean, do I want to see the Liam Sharp art bigger? I don't know, because sometimes it's like there's some stunning images in there that I'm like, wow, and there's some stuff where I'm like, what?
Yeah. That's Liam Sharp all over, man. Because like I really liked his work. I've enjoyed his work before. I'm not the world's biggest Liam Sharp fan, but I've enjoyed his work before, and I can say that like I was not terribly disappointed to find that he was doing basically fill in for Batcat for Tom King. And his first entry into it, I was like, oh, cool. Like it's actually pretty cool. Like I'm not upset about it. But then the next issue, I was less excited about it. And so at this point, I'm kind of like, you know, he's an acquired taste, and I appreciate most of his work, but I don't know. Like sometimes he just, you know, he's versatile and he can adapt styles and he can do his different things with his style and mix it up. But sometimes it mixes in the wrong direction for me. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, there's more to talk about. I didn't get a chance to get into a lot of other books I wanted to do. Like I wanted to do Justice League, Infinity, I should say, by D. Mateus, and I didn't get a chance to do that one. So I guess we could talk about the big one, right?
Dark Knight of Steel.
Dark Knights of Steel. Yeah. I know you didn't read it. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, Dark Knights of Steel. Is it great? That's a great question.
Is it great?
Right? I should say that it is written by Tom Taylor with art by Yasmin Putri. And of course, everyone's excited because it's a Tom Taylor original universe DC Comics. He can do whatever he wants, continuity wise thing. When I remember seeing the promos for this and him talking about it, and it's like, yeah, everyone's gonna love this because a 12-issue limited series of an alternate reality DC universe written by Tom Taylor. How could it go wrong? Well, I'm here to tell you it didn't go wrong. It's great. But I know I took you on a roller coaster, but I did that on purpose because when I first heard about it, like I didn't get a chance to read it right away. And like days before it was released, I already heard people complaining about this book and people just losing their minds. Like I heard death threats were lobbed at Taylor over his, which means, by the way, that the memories of the comic book readers is very short. People are like, oh, I love your DCs. What'd you do with Dark Knights of Steel? I'm going to kill you. That's insane to me. It just makes me sick. People are just
it's an out of continuity book.
It's an out of continuity book. Like, if you are outraged by what happens in Dark Knights of Steel, my recommendation to you is to go back and read any Elseworlds book that came out in the 90s and tell me if it's more or less outrageous. Because I promise you it is more outrageous. Batman being abducted and tortured by aliens is more outrageous than what happens in Dark Knights of Steel. Superman surviving the nuclear holocaust and then becoming a gun-toting Santa-bearded man that burns himself alive at the end of his own story is more outrageous than Dark Knights of Steel. Okay? Superman or Green Lantern being an Arabian Night is more outrageous than Dark Knights of Steel. Like, there's enough Elseworld stories. And this is tried and true. This is an Elseworlds book. Now, I should say, we already have this. I believe it's called Cal. Remember that book that's set in medieval times?
Yes.
And Superman's a knight?
Yes.
Yeah. But you know what? This is very different. It's very much a deceased adaptation of an Elseworlds book. I wish Elseworlds existed, because it'd be great to see the Elseworlds logo in the top left-hand corner of this very well-executed graphic that they've made here.
Maybe
with the DC.
marketing told them that people were less likely to buy it if they saw the word Elseworlds.
I bet you money that they didn't, because DC marketing doesn't know shit. So anyway, Dark Knights of Steel is just okay. So they open the book. It's a classic thing. Hey, doomed planet Krypton, son of Ra is destroying Krypton. We only have this last hope. They shoot off the rocket. It lands in a grassy field that looks a lot like Kansas. It opens up, and Lana? I think it's Lara. Jor-El and Lara. Yeah. Lara's giving birth, and Jor-El is delivering Cal.
In the rocket?
In the rocket.
Oh.
And they are come upon by knights on horseback who start firing arrows at them, and Jor-El is like, please stop, and his laser vision just melts everyone in the vicinity. And he's like, oh, well, I think we're going to be okay. And he sets his sight on the castle from which they came, and it must have been the Wayne Castle, because that's the implication, is it? And then we jump ahead to when, like, Bruce and Cal Clark are, I don't know, young adults.
Mhm.
Let's say they're in their 20s, maybe teens, late teens, because it's like, you know, medieval times. But
medieval times.
Nice.
Here comes the Falcon.
Oh, great.
Key.
Bring back the wizard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the idea is it's just here's this story.
Mhm.
What if the DC universe took place in medieval times? And you know, so the idea is that, like, Jor-El and Lara are king and queen of the country, and Bruce, their, like, adopted bastard son of the former king and queen, Martha and Thomas, is their kind of like grim executor who goes out and collects magical based people who are the only thing that can hurt the Kryptonians.
Okay.
There's a young boy in a nearby village who is plagued with visions and prophecies, which they write down. This John Constantine. And
just stop telling me about it. I'm so mad that I didn't get to read this. I tweeted about it.
You did.
I tweeted about it and you read it.
I know.
Bah!
Well, it's great. Anyway, there's a big reveal at the end, which is like, it's 12 issues, and this is the big reveal at the end of the first issue. But it doesn't matter. I don't want to ruin it. I'll just say that, like, it's standard operating procedure for an Elseworlds book.
Okay.
But it also has, like, the epic scope of a 12-issue miniseries that can... I promise you, if Deceased didn't exist, this would have been 4 or 6. They're like, there's no way. Because if anybody who still works at DC that remembers anything from 10 years ago, they would have been like, there's no way that we can support 12 issues. There's no way that we can do this. This Elseworlds book would have been a double-sized prestige issue. It would have been 44 pages or 62 pages. Like, it would not have been 12 friggin' issues of 32 pages apiece. That being said, it's worth it because it's Tom Taylor. He's in another universe. He gets to do whatever he wants for the most part. I'm sure they have an editor, and I'm sure that editor did not let Taylor do whatever he wanted. But I'm just saying, like, it's fun and it's cool and the art's fantastic. Putri does a really lovely job across the board. You see your old familiar characters in very familiar ways to what you're used to, but in a very different environment. It's very, very evocative of 1602, but without the kind of like real universe twist.
Okay.
You know, it's like they left it alone.
Yes.
Which I kind of appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really appreciate it because I like the uniqueness of 1602 being like, and then there's this.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes 1602 that much more rich and delicious. But Dark Knight's a Seal. It's good. It's great, in fact. And is it everything I've been waiting for? No, it's an Elseworlds book. I don't like read Elseworlds books to be the replacement for the thing that I'm craving in comic books. I like Elseworlds books because they are distractions. They are derivations of the norm. They are escapism from escapism. You're reading comics to escape from real life, but comics are art. So hopefully they're reflective of real life and they teach you something or help you realize something about yourself. This is even more escapism from that because it's like Superman and Batman being knights with swords. And, but and you can tell, by the way, immediately there's a Green Arrow moment, and Green Arrow is super important. Also, Dinah Lance is in it and she's super important. And of course they are because, Tom Taylor.
Yeah.
There are also a bunch of Robins, and one of them isn't in it. And I'm like, what? He left one out. Like Duke and Jason and Dick.
Is it Tim?
Yeah. Suspicious. I think it's because he has plans for Tim. But we'll see. Anyway.
Perhaps he's like a Green Knight.
No, that'd be cool. Yeah, like Gawain.
Or like a Lancelot.
I think I would consider Tim Drake to be more of a Percival. But anyway. Dark Knight's Seal. I highly recommend it. Great stuff. Great art. Read it. But honestly, just the end of the big surprise or whatever, it's not, you could see it coming from a mile away. There's nothing about it that's like, what?
Okay.
What?
This
is outrageous. Nothing outrageous about it.
Okay.
It's like people are just professionally outraged at this point. They're like, oh, I'm getting paid to be outraged. Ah!
Some people do.
Well, they certainly do. There's a subset of our own, we got peers who are like that. Dante Cook, thanks for the PSA. I want a way to support my favorite comics, but as a trade paperback only reader, it hurts to know that my trade paperback waiting doesn't say give me more. It's true. Like it doesn't, but they make money off of that. So yeah, like I think that's the way to go. And I've heard that from like inner comic book, like creators who said that. Brady White, to me, it felt like the ending could be a story for a couple issues. I am going to continue reading the book. Yeah, honestly, you could do this in 4. You could do this in 6. You could do this in 1. You could have cut a lot out of this to just give you like, no, but that's the thing about the old Elseworlds. That's like why old Elseworlds is like is ultimately disappointing, is because like they never got the chance to explore their idea. They just did the premise and then threw it out there and it's gone.
Some of them are longer.
They are a little longer.
Some of them are longer.
Right.
Not
many of them.
Not many.
Yeah. Critic Clips says, Sal, did you get to read Batman the Imposter? No, but I did buy it. It's in the pile. I bought it in physical, like an idiot. I'm less likely to read it if it's in physical now, which is insane, by the way, because apparently digital comic book sales are terrible.
I like digital because it saves me space.
It saves space.
That's really and I could do it anywhere.
Yeah, and you can do it anywhere.
And I could read it anywhere.
Exactly.
For sure.
But physical's up, which is nice. Will.i.am Golden, Dark Knights of Steel confirmed that Bruce has a bad luck with parents. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. So yeah, we got to jump into the Eternals now.
Okay.
So before we do that, let's recommend some comic books. Let's talk about what's coming out this week we think you should buy. There's a bunch of books that are coming out this week, but I don't think it's as heavy as this week.
This week was heavy. The show we did before was like really heavy for me.
Yes,
I was
it
like,
was.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Zeb Wells and Patrick Gleason bring you Amazing Spider-Man number 78. I'm reading this. Morbius is in it. Lol. Friggin' bless you. Friggin' Morbius, man. Oh, Kelly Thompson's also on this. So I don't know why they put Zeb Wells. Whatever. It sucks.
Because this is that thing where it's like everybody's rating it, right?
Exactly. It's a committee. But yeah, Beyond Spider-Man. It's fine. Robin and Batman number 1. First time I'm seeing that. Sounds like fun. Jeff Lemire, Dustin Nguyen.
Yeah, it's going to be gorgeous.
3-issue mini. Oh, that's not a commitment. I'm down.
Yeah.
Justice League Last Ride number 7 was supposed to be 6. Now it's 7. That's the Chip Zdarsky way. You want extra books? Hire Chip Zdarsky. He'll add another book. He'll add another issue. He did it retroactively with friggin' with Spider-Man Life Story. He did it with Spider Shadow, and he's doing it with Last Ride. Last Ride is fine. It's a fine story. I like the last issue. It was fun. I look forward to covering it on back issues. I'm going to hopefully jump into it as soon as I can because I just want to talk about this book. Not because I like love it or anything, but because it's like, hey, look, it's a beginning, middle, and end story with the Justice League that could have easily been in continuity, unless this last issue is friggin' bananas, which it could be. Anyway,
I don't know. I really haven't been on that at all.
We recommended that you guys check out Comixology Unlimited because it was Scott-tober last month, and Scott had a whole bunch of books that were coming out. Well, if you were reading them and you were looking forward to seeing these digital exclusive books, which will be available in print after the fact, about a year from now, I think. You can check out We Have Demons #2 from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. You want to see these two drawing demons and people with crazy like knife arms and stuff that give the finger? Read We Have Demons #2.
Okay.
Also, Venom #1 is being relaunched with Al Ewing with art by Ram V.
No, it's right. It's written by both of them, I think.
Oh yeah, you're right. With Brian Hitch doing art.
Yeah, it's Ewing and V.
Oh, okay. Well. I like those two on art. I'm not like sold on
writing.
On writing, yeah. I'm not sold on Dylan being Venom, but like whatever.
I saw that like he's got the Venom suit and then Brock has a different look.
Yes.
I was like, oh.
Well, because he's the King in Black.
Yeah, I might have kept him with the Venom suit and then given Dylan the new suit.
Oh, you mean like how Donny Cates like teased that he was going to get his own symbiote the whole friggin' book? Yeah.
Anyway, that's just
whatever.
That's not anything.
That's fine. That's fine.
Excalibur #25 is coming out.
Yeah.
I like this book.
I know you do.
There's magic. Arthur's in it.
I can't believe it's lasted 25 issues.
Right? Yeah. Yay! The one no one thought would make it. No, I don't know if it's that one.
No.
So that's coming out. It's written by Tini Howard with art by Marcus Toe. Hellions #17. Zeb Wells, Steven Segovia. Let's get some. Strange Academy #13 continues to be like I'm telling you, this is the book that everyone's like, hey, have you heard about this book?
Yeah. I remember you were like, I'm gonna read this, I guess. We'll see what happens. And then everyone was like, oh
yeah, have you heard about this Strange Academy? I'm like, oh no, tell me more.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, however you find it, just find it. It's a fun book. Written by Scotty Young. Totally different tone.
Yeah.
Totally different tone than The Me You Love in the Dark.
Yes.
Art by Humberto Ramos.
Yes.
Just very much sets the tone.
Right.
Just a nice, fun little thing. Wonder Woman 781 is coming out.
Yep.
I'm just throwing it on there just because, I gave a shot to the last one. Maybe I'll check this out as well.
When you like Clunan and Conrad, like they do a good job with Vita Ayala and
I think she's doing the backup.
Yes.
Yes, I do. It's just I didn't like where the adventure was going. Now she's back. And the way they're teasing this is that she's in a world now that doesn't need her. Think about all the Wonder characters that are out there.
Right.
We don't really need Wonder Woman right now.
No, we got plenty of Wonder Women to choose from.
So what is she going to do?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, what is she going to do?
Right? She's going to leave again?
No. We'll see. We'll see. Diana, we'll see.
Yeah.
And then just to kind of transition us into our next topic, I want to give a shout out to Eternals #7. Eternals is back. It's Kieran Gillen. It's Asad Ribic. We're picking up.
Shit.
It's the next arc. We did that interlude with a couple of like the random Eternal one-offs, and we're back.
Yeah. That's awesome that Gillen and Ribic are back.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
What's the over-under on when this book's going to get delayed? Issue 9?
No. It's gonna totally come out because we're gonna put positive vibes into the universe to make it so.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. For your sake, I hope so.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Rusky 9110. I read Gillen's run to prep for the movie. Looking back, it was a mistake because now I can't like Druig even when they changed him for the movie.
Listen, that's like Druig's character, but I can appreciate it because were we to see him again, and you're gonna question his, you know what I mean, or you won't see it coming.
Right. Lewis Cox, does Dark Knights of Steel have something to do with Batman and Superman? Yes, it does. They're both in it. Cosmic Reader, the Celestial stuck on Earth. The end reminds me of Jason Aaron's run with the Avengers using a Celestial as their new base. Honestly, it'd be funny if that was the case for the MCU.
for Eternals.
Yeah, of course.
Probably for Guardians. Come playing that Guardians game.
No, I know, it's great. They're talking about all that stuff. So we'll talk about Eternals in just a second. I just want to give like fair spoiler warning for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil the movie for you right away.
Yes.
If you haven't had a chance to see it, I'm sure it'll be on Disney Plus in the next week or two. Because but yeah,
Well, Shang-Chi is coming.
That's right. Yeah. And they're hoping you'll be more excited about that.
I think it's at the end of the week.
Oh, really?
And you get like $6 off.
Oh.
If you're a new customer, or if you're a current one, apparently.
Oh, wow. I'd like $6 off.
$6. Well, for like a 1 month.
Mm.
So like you can get $6 off for like
fine
December.
I think I pay the year. So
by the way, we're not sponsored by that. I just heard that today.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that at all. But yeah, we'll talk about the Celestial Stuck at the end. But thank you. Yeah, no, I agree. It was a neat idea. Not the City HQ. Thanks you guys for helping me always stay in a creative mindset. Much love from Texas. Hoping for that Young Avengers Volume 1 back issues one day. Yeah, maybe. I mean, stranger things have happened, but no, Young Avengers are inevitable in the movies, and that'll help out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that'll work out. So yeah, Eternals. This movie came out. We saw it a couple weeks ago, and
so bear with us as we recall.
Right, getting into it, but I will say that it was. I'm really glad we saw it when we did, because number one, we got to see it early, which is kind of fun. Number two, we got to see it on an IMAX screen. Number three, we got to see it with a lot of precautions and restrictions in place. As a result, it made me feel a lot more comfortable being in a movie theater at all. So I was happy to be able to see it. A lot of people are asking whether they should wait to see it or if they should see it in theaters, and I don't think any movie, regardless of pandemics or variants or strain, I honestly don't believe any movie is worth being sick over. Like, I don't think, if you're sick or you're immunocompromised and like there's a strain of the flu or a cold or the chicken pox or COVID, don't go see a movie. Like, I just think that's just common sense. And no movie is worth it. That being said, if you're safe, if you're vaxxed, if you got restrictions and you can tolerate them, I think this movie was made for screens. I think it was definitely worth seeing in the theater to check this movie out in its scope. I think the worst place to see it is on your phone because you're just gonna miss stuff, and it's just not built for that. You know, it's not that kind of movie. It's not like a dialogue heavy flick that's just going to be like, I could just hear the movie as opposed to watching it. It's a visual spectacle, and Zhao does a really great job of like conveying those visuals in such a fantastic way. It's one of the things that I think we praised early on because it was something we could also say, like, because we were also under a gag order, like you can't spoil the movie up until this point, and was happy to not do that.
You could. It's just then we don't invite you to things.
Well, yeah. And it wasn't like we were going to get sued. It was just like, don't do that.
I'd like to be invited to things.
Oh, yeah. No, it's true. It's true. And it wasn't like it was by the way, like, screeners, I want to demystify the process. Like, you go and you're just going to a movie, especially in New York. Like, random people get invited to those screeners. Like, you could just, we got invited, but like a lot of random people just were there who like were not part of like a thing. And it wasn't like actors showed up or anything. That only happened one time, and it was on a screener I skipped, and it was Serenity. Alan Tudyk showed up to one of them.
Oh no!
Yeah, that was the one I skipped. But yeah, that was a real heartbreaker. But more ways than one. But yeah, so with respect to Eternals, we talked a lot about the visuals because like it was something we could talk about. It was something that was like pretty objective. It was like, here's something that we can observe and say that we liked. And or we didn't have to talk about whether we liked it or not. We could just say, our opinions, but we couldn't spoil it.
Yeah.
But I could say like, holy crap, this movie looked amazing.
Yeah.
The from cinematography down to the effects, I was like, this movie is a spectacle. Like, it was really well executed. It was really deliberately made, and it just had like the CG was really, really excellent. And I know that like I don't normally talk about that, or if I do, it's only because it's glaringly bad.
Right? Yeah. I hear that one a lot.
Yeah. Well, only because like it's a Marvel movie, and it's like if it's bad, you hope the story can carry it, and if it's good, you hope the story can match it. And in this particular case, the effects were fantastic, and the CG looked great, and it looked good like all the way through. Even to the fight scenes, and the fight scenes themselves looked like they were directed by the director as opposed to by the VFX department.
Right.
I'm talking about all that just to kind of get that out of the way. I want to talk about like that kind of the visual angle, so we can talk more about like the subjective opinions, like the feelings about like how the story was constructed, our personal opinions about whether we like the movie or not, because I'm really glad that we saw the movie before everybody else. And it's
Oh,
because
yeah.
this movie is really divisive, and it's like surprisingly
Yes.
surprisingly so.
It's not surprising.
It wasn't?
No.
Because I was surprised. I was surprised by how divisive it was, or how visceral the response was
The
to this
movie
movie.
opened and I was like, they're not going to like it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's okay. I get it. I completely get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand that this one isn't going to be for everybody.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. But also because the fact is, when the Eternals first came out, they were divisive.
You mean like the comic book?
Yeah. I mean, like the Jack Kirby Eternals, it was in fact divisive. And so, like, the fact that it is now means that it is 100% an Eternals movie.
Right. Yeah. In every respect.
No, like they put out Eternals, and originally people they really got upset about it. They wrote letters in either saying like they love this and yay, it's great, and others were like, do not put this in the Marvel universe. I don't want these characters in with my Marvel characters. Get them away. Go away, Jack Kirby, with your stuff.
Yeah, with your Cherish the Gods bullshit.
Yeah, I don't want to see it.
Well, because it's very much that. Like,
Yes.
and it comes from a world of Jack Kirby was one of the major architects of the Marvel universe as we know it, and then he left to DC to make the New Gods, which of course he meant for the Marvel universe, and then was like, well, here's something for you, DC, and DC didn't appreciate or respect it at any point until they did. But like, he creates the New Gods, and then he leaves DC, goes back to Marvel, and just continues that kind of trend, that idea with the Eternals. I also have never liked the Eternals as a comic book. I don't really like that concept. I appreciate, and I know, like, I appreciate the Chariots of the Gods, like, you know, aliens made the pyramids and people are from like our god seeds and stuff like that. I'm like, I get it, and I think that's fun, but I don't want to read about that, particularly in a Marvel universe where it's like, it's the world outside your window. Anything can happen. But like, the more I get into it, the more I'm like, oh, I love the Marvel cosmology, and I like how like everything's this crazy kind of like chaotic, insane like world of monsters and gods and cosmic beings and so forth. And the Eternals fits right in with that. But like, I also find that their story's boring, but also wholly inoffensive.
Well, you know what it is, like,
right, that's the thing.
You know, Jack had like very like different ideas, and like really like a heavy handed belief in mythology, and like, you know, if you want to talk about superheroes as modern day myth, then like Jack Kirby's your guy, you know, like, for sure. And so like, there are some myths that you read where you're like, oh my god, this is so boring, you know what I mean? Like, it's you know, it's not written to be like a slugfest or what have you. And so like, certainly, you know, some of these, you know, New Gods, Eternals type stories are going to get caught up in that, but it doesn't mean that they are boring. In fact, part of the reason why I was like, not only was it going to be divisive, because knowing that like when they first came into on the scene in comics, they were it was the fact that I was like, I'm really interested to see how they're going to make this work, because that's really what it is. Putting the Eternals in here was a feat of making it work, because they have connections to a lot of what we've already seen in the MCU. And so either they're going to have to finesse some things, or they're going to throw things out, or they're going to shoehorn.
Like, give me an example.
Well, obviously, as you know, Thanos is a direct result of the Eternals and the Deviants, and a deviant-based disease. And so, like, if you're going to have said that Thanos is here, then you may or may not need your Eternals to take responsibility for him. But they did a little wiggle room on their origin.
And what's funny about that is that then they go back on it in the post credits.
Sure, and we can talk about that, but I mean directly in the origin, because in the origin that we've seen, at least in the Gaiman run, which I know a lot of people are going to be looking at in particular, because like there's definitely stuff taken from there. And you see some of the changes made for the MCU movies in the Gillen book. But in the Gaiman run in particular, what do we see? We see that Celestials came down and they created the Deviants and the Eternals. And then when, like, on the same place on Earth. And then when, you know, the Deviants were mucking around, they came back down and fixed some stuff up here. They changed this up a little bit. Like, it's still like the notes are there. The
ideas are still there, where like they both come from the same source.
Yes.
And they're both part of the plan.
Yeah, it's just, it's just little plot points are in different places. So here's
Yes.
the thing. For like the 12 of you out there who are like, I know a lot about the Eternals
Yeah.
and I'm going to go see this, or I did see this. Part of my experience watching this movie was at one point to go like, stop relying on what you know and just watch the movie in front of you.
Yes.
And once I did that, I mean, like I was enjoying myself up until that point, but once I did that, I was like, it was really much easier to understand how they were approaching this. But instead of me trying to fit like the narrative that I know onto the movie, I was like, no, wait, let you explain it to me before I start trying to make any sort of assumptions about this, because like that's presumptuous and wrong of me to do.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, you have a lot of history and a lot of cosmic history. Much of it written by Jack Kirby, written by other writers over the years. They've changed, they've done this, they killed all themselves. You know what I mean? So and listen, what makes much of our Marvel characters so special, other than a few of them, right?
Right.
Like when you look at like, other than Thor, really.
Oh, the fact that they're human and relatable?
They're human, they're people. They're people that something has happened that's changed them.
Yeah.
You're Peter Quill, you've been removed from your home.
Yep.
And you grew up someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
You're Peter Parker, you've been bitten by a radioactive spider. You're
Steve Rogers, and you get a serum that makes you like hot.
It's super hot and buff and amazing.
Yeah.
You're T'Challa, and like you could be almost an Iron Man, but instead you like ingest like a mystic herb.
Yes.
Basically, you know what I mean? Like, but you're human.
Right.
You're a person.
Yeah.
Right. Except for Thor, who comes down here, but
even he has parents and has like he is as relatable because of like mostly because of Chris Hemsworth's chemistry, but also because like,
but in the way in which he's written and like what makes him like fallible are his human qualities.
Exactly.
But to then go and make the Eternals, I get it. I get why this one's a jump and a leap and a struggle for people to accept and enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like for the same token, I don't like the Inhumans, and I find them unrelatable, and I don't really care for their mythology, and I think they're really annoying and boring, and like I don't care about them, and I wasn't gonna patronize their TV show, which it turns out was like just really bad. But like I was just like, but I get not liking that concept.
Yep.
And that seems to be, unfortunately, like we can't just say like, here's opinions of the movie. We also have to talk about the discourse surrounding the movie, because like the discourse has been like vitriolic, and it even like almost derailed our own chat here today. And it's like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to give life to it, but I do want to acknowledge the fact that like, oddly enough, it's not enough to just say like the Eternals are fucking not for me, and I'm not going to watch it, or I don't care about it, or I didn't enjoy it. Yeah. Like that's how I am with the Inhumans, where I'm like, they're like, dude, you gotta read the Inhuman. I'm like, I don't really care about them. And that's like, that's fine. Like, that's fine. Just don't do it. I just don't do it. And it's like, but for some reason, it's really upsetting people. Like, it's upsetting people on like a fundamental level, this movie. And it's really odd, because I think this movie manages to do a nice balancing act of being like, here's something huge that you can totally ignore.
Yeah.
Like, even the fact that there's a big space god coming out of the ground, it's in a place you're not going to see at any point in your Hawkeye show, or your Ironheart adaptation, or your Avengers sequel. Like, you're just not going to see that. You literally don't need it. And it's just a thing that exists for the people who like that sort of thing. I can tell why Feige was so excited about it. He's been hyping it up for like the past 2 years. He's like, oh my God. And it's like, yeah, because like, man, if I had been like responsible for making a movie as like beautiful looking and like and challenging against my usual, kind of system, I'd be pretty excited too. I'm pretty hyped.
Yeah. And I like, what's one of the biggest criticisms you hear about superhero movies, but in particular MCU movies?
Oh, they're samey.
They're very samey, and this one wasn't.
Right.
And I think it turns out either people didn't like the difference of it, or it turns out they don't really want that.
Right.
I don't know. And that's not for me to decide, because I'm not gonna judge someone's interpretation.
I can't.
Of it, because it's like, that's your subjective view on
it. Exactly. The only thing that I got like upset about during the discourse, people being like, objectively, the movie is terrible. And I'm like, objectively, you're a moron. Because when you say that, like, Because it's not. Because artistically speaking, it is a subject. Because I disagree with you, so that completely invalidates your argument.
That's not objective. That is very much subjective.
Yeah.
I mean,
like there are movies that have, and Rotten Tomatoes, like, you know, there are movies on Rotten Tomatoes that have like a 28% freshest rating that people have like a cult like following for. Like objectively, the movie is beloved by other people.
Yeah.
Not this one. I'm just talking about in general, like movies that are overwhelmingly statistically bad.
Right.
So,
well, just like, you know, like you could say about like almost any movie, but like for some reason this came to mind. But like when you look at Jaws and how like it's supposed to be a horror movie, but objectively speaking, I'd say it is not.
Right.
Like it's not really a horror
subjectively
movie.
Speaking.
Well, yeah, subjectively speaking, it's not a horror movie.
Right.
I'd say objectively too, but objectively speaking, it did change the way in which people thought of shooting horror films.
Totally. Yeah.
Like, so say like subjectively speaking, Ripley's adorable.
Your cat, yes.
My cat Ripley is adorable. Objectively speaking, she's a cat and a mammal.
Right, exactly.
You can't change that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's nothing you can change about
how
that,
it is.
right? Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why we always have to talk about this, but we do.
Mhm.
So that's your reminder, everybody.
Yeah.
A lot of what we are going to talk about is going to be subjective because putting it all out there, I liked the movie. I had a really good time with it. But like I said, I knew within 5 minutes
that people were going to hate this.
People were going to hate this.
Oh, the fact that it immediately made people read. I was like, oh.
Don't make them read.
And read a lot.
They did.
Like every time a new paragraph, I'm like, oh my God, another paragraph?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was like.
And it ain't like Star Wars where it's like zoom, pow, kaboom. Unless it's the prequels. Then it's like,
yeah.
Why did you write all that? But anyway, yeah. Ultimately, I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie. I liked it. I liked the characters. I thought they like. I liked the story.
Yeah.
And it's something that one of the reasons why I like it and why I'm happy to say out loud that I enjoyed it and why I'm like not like giving a middling opinion like you know, like it'd be so safe to say like, well, you know, like it's not the best Marvel movie ever made, but it's certainly not the worst. You know, like I could easily just say that and like not get like spam emails afterwards.
Yeah, fine.
But I liked it, and I liked it in a way where I was like surprised, and well, you know, I was like, wow, this is pretty good. Like I'm really enjoying this movie.
I went out of my way to go into this one with like no opinion, like I had no hopes and I had no fears for this movie because the fact is, like, have I read Eternals? Sure. Are the Eternals my favorite? No, they're not.
They're nobody's favorite.
But no, they're some people's favorites. They
you're
really
right.
are.
Everything is someone's favorite.
But for me, I was just kind of like, you know what? Like, let's go see this.
Yeah.
The only thing I was looking forward to is like, I really like, is it Gemma?
Yes.
Yes. Quite a bit. I think she's a great actress.
I thought everybody did a great job.
No, I think so too. I was like really looking forward to her.
Yes.
Like,
but I was concerned. Like I'm when they cast Kumail Nanjiani, I'm like, what an obvious Marvel thing to do. Like what shorthand? You know, like, oh my God. Like they were afraid people couldn't handle this movie, so they cast Kumail Nanjiani to be hilarious. And he's actually really good.
Yeah, he was good.
And I was like, holy shit.
Was he funny? Sure.
Yeah, but like he didn't start funny.
No.
You know, like his character grew. And that's one of the things that like connected me to the movie, where I'm like, I'm kind of like geocentric sci-fi fan. I like Earth and I like how special we are. I don't know. It's just something that like appeals to me. I like seeing Earthlings go out into the galaxy and see like a whole clockwork of alien races, and they're like, we know how things work. And then humans show up and they're like, everything's ruined. I find that fascinating and fun.
Yeah.
And I love the idea that the Eternals are this thing that are like that are eternal, and they exist to like prepare planets for inevitable destruction and to like the perpetuation of the species of clockwork god creators. And they were on Earth for shorter than any other place they've ever been, and they were completely changed. And every single Eternal who can't die, even though they do in this movie, but like it's implied that they won't later, but there's never going to be an Eternal sequel, so we'll never see them come back. But like each character is like, once they come on Earth, they are changed. Like,
yeah,
every character is influenced by either like by humans, you know, like Cersei is, or the cultures. You know?
Well, that's what I think is so fascinating, because it's like you see this time and again in comics in general, that there's like on both sides, on the Marvel and the DC side, that there's something about human beings,
right?
And now is that a little like, egocentric of us? Sure.
I don't care about
But
that. It's
there
fine.
is. No.
You know what? Because there aren't real aliens.
No, I know. But like,
That's
know
why
what
I don't
mean?
care
Like,
about that.
But like this concept that like if there were, no, but there is something special about us.
Yeah.
What makes us special? Because it's us.
Yeah. Like, why does
Um,
Data want to be human? Because we're egocentric creatures that like want to see robots desperately want to be humans.
Exactly. But I do love that like across the board that you do tend to see that on both sides. That there's just something about us. That,
Yeah,
like,
we're special things. What do you want?
We're gonna affect you, but we're also gonna fight real hard.
Yeah.
To save ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even if we're jerks to one another.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that quite a bit. And I definitely saw some reviewers,
Right.
like real reviewers out there talking about how they were like, they didn't like the idea that, there's like this bigger like mystery as the Eternals are unraveling who they are and why they are,
Mhm.
the who and the why of them.
Yes.
And then we're like focusing in on this like little romance between two of them. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe if I didn't have any sort of knowledge of the Eternals prior to this, I might question that.
Sure.
I don't know, because I can't, it's hard for me to imagine
Yeah.
that not having that knowledge. But like, I think the relationship between Cersei and Icarus is super important.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not the world's biggest Eternals fan, nor
Mhm.
do I have like encyclopedic knowledge of the inner workings of the relationships between those characters.
Mhm.
But like, if there's one thing I know about Icarus, it's that he doesn't change.
Yeah, he's pretty much him. He's like, you often see him in.
Like, he's frustratingly dogmatic in his belief system.
He is. I mean, he is a soldier through and through.
Right.
That's who he is. Like, you give him an order and he follows it. He's often described as an arrow. He's an arrow. Like, you fire him at something, at a problem to make it go away.
Yeah,
basically.
Absolutely.
And I thought the actor portraying him did a phenomenal job with that. Like, just very focused, hyper focused. But then to have someone like Cersei who is,
like sympathetic and empathetic.
Yeah.
That she's on Earth like 2 seconds and she's like, these people are great.
Yeah.
I love them.
Right. But like,
she's been in the comics, like Cersei is the most integrated in the Marvel universe.
Yes.
Like, she's been Avenger longer than Wolverine. Mm-hmm. So like that's par for the course for that character.
Yeah. But like the Eternals presumably, really can't mate.
Right.
Although those who do later on have issues with that.
Exactly.
But in this universe, this human this like concept of like them falling in love with one another.
Yeah.
Maybe that's happened before, maybe not, who knows? But like it's a human thing.
Yes.
Like they form a human bond.
Right. Well, and it like blows their mind.
Yes.
And it like it torments them because they're not,
Yeah.
And it's like we're watching these like robot gods, and they're not really robots, but like clockwork gods.
Yeah.
That are like, like I can't help it.
Yeah.
We're like an infection. We're like a virus. But yeah, I mean, like ultimately, I just.
But they're and like honestly, in that way, Cersei and Icarus in this film in particular are like they're the opposites who attract kind of thing. Like, clearly for him, she like is something that he can't understand and can't be.
Yeah,
like he doesn't have that capability.
Right. Well, he represents in his own way. He represents like her devotion to her culture, and she represents the thing he can't have, which is change.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I'm just
connection.
Exactly.
With anything beyond the job.
Exactly. Like there's a lot in here.
And so like his connection with her is the closest he can get, and it's something he highly values.
Right.
But
still not enough past the mission.
Yeah. Yeah. They do change like that origin thing with the clockwork thing. But it's a way in which they're trying to get the world machine to be a part of this without having them be like, listen, with comics, it's really easy to do a retcon. It's a little harder in a movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you play the Hulk.
Well, yeah, for sure. But I thought they both did a really nice job. I thought Gemma Chan, I am delighted by her. So I think she did a great job with this character, because Cersei's often a party girl,
right?
Too.
Yeah, no, I've never liked Cersei as a character in the comics, and I really liked her.
And they definitely like changed this a little bit more to just be someone who, like you said, is very empathetic.
Yeah.
And just likes connecting with people. And I was like, oh, I kind of dig that interpretation of taking the party girl and like fine tuning into someone who just wants to connect with people.
Exactly.
Icarus, again, he is the arrow, and I thought Richard Madden did a great job.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Great job with like this fairly like just stoic
Yeah.
individual.
Yeah.
Even in the way in which he was depicted as flying,
Mm-hmm.
or like when he would hover.
Right? He didn't
like,
enjoy
he
it.
Doesn't
he
move.
doesn't.
Like it's like an action figure, and I'm like, that
cool.
just immediately made me think of panels from Eternals book.
Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty cool that they went for that.
Yeah.
You know, Angelina Jolie, different take on Thena.
I was very interested in that because Angelina Jolie, you'd expect her to kind of be the lead because it's Angelina Jolie. She's like a movie star. And she's known for being like action-oriented, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Tomb Raider, all that stuff. Like, and yet she plays this like wounded, damaged person.
Yeah.
That is it's very interesting. We talked about this on another show where I mentioned the whole like memories thing about like the death of the Eternals and how like, you know, if one of the people I was conversing with was like, why, if we know they can be resurrected, do they care so much about dying? And I was like, I think it's about the memories thing.
Yeah.
Like it's about like, it's why they so like emphatically defended Thena from her memory wipe, because it's like, that is your death. Your real death is like losing who you are.
Well, and I'd say like, as a human, as all of us presumably are in the chat, why do you think there's any sort of research concerned about Alzheimer's?
Right.
You know, part of it is like it's a detriment to your health, but also the human component of it is watching the person you love fade away.
Right. And being the person who's losing who they are.
Yeah. So you know, if you've ever in your life experienced anyone who has Alzheimer's, like, you know how hard it is for them.
Yeah.
And so if you knew that you were going to lose everything that you were and be reborn, like, certainly you'll be reborn, but you're not going to be you.
Exactly.
Because they've lived here for how long now?
Right.
They've had
7,000 years.
Yeah, they've had thousands of years of experiences, and those will all be gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd say that's probably the big thing. And again, that's possibly the human effect on them.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Across the board, you know, Selma Hayek does a nice job. Again, she does like the least amount of heavy lifting in the movie.
Yeah,
I feel
will
bad,
say
but, like,
there was one element of Thena's personality that I was really hoping we were going to see, and we don't. And it's just, and again, this comes from the like overall like change of the deviants.
Yes.
Right. But there is a scene where I was like, oh, are they doing it like in the trailer? And I was like, oh, they were just leading us to another thing. But in the comics, Thena has a thing for the deviants, and she'll sleep with them because they're flawed.
Right.
You know, there's something about that. And I was like, that's fine. I don't really need
we
that.
Don't need that.
Okay. She's a very different character here.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of the Eternals, I think, did a great job. Camille Nanjiani.
Yep.
Excellent. Leah McHugh as Sprite. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
couldn't believe their turn. Like just the with the ending, I was like, okay, here's the part where they do the thing, and it's like, no, I'm leaving with him. Let's go. Like, I'm on board.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe there's gonna be a betrayal, like a kind of Loki situation.
Yeah.
No,
and they really did capture, like, again, this is like, for me, this comes from the Gaiman comic, is like Sprite's desire. Like, I'm a kid.
Right.
They made me a kid.
Yeah, why do they do that?
Yeah. And like in like the like in their original forming, it's like the Celestials came down, they took like man, like an earlier version of man, and separated them and took some and made them into deviants, some of them into Eternals. But like, if you're a kid, you were a kid. That was it. Sorry.
Yeah.
And like, that sucks.
Yeah.
So like, you're this like, you know, ageless child, like, you've been living 7,000 years as a child.
Yeah.
So your mind is that of an adult who would like to do adult things, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
But you're a child.
Yeah. Brian Tyree Henry does some really great stuff with Phastos, character that I don't really know anything about, but was thrilled to see.
Well,
like,
if you were in the Gillen run, Phastos showed up.
Okay.
Phastos is different in this, but this is fine with me. I like this Phastos quite a bit.
Yep.
Makari, a little bit different take there.
Yeah.
Still great job.
Like, and I could see people who professionally look for things like this to have an issue with like everything, all the diversity and representation that is affecting this movie. And I'm like, yo, do it in a movie where it's a bunch of characters you've never seen before and don't care about. Like, if you've never seen them, if you don't know who the Eternals are, it's like, well, then who cares if you've like gender bent them, or you've made like someone hard of hearing, or if you've like,
well, and presumably the way that they did this was that like the Celestial sent them here to look this way you know what I mean? Like, each time they go to a place, they look different.
They look different. Exactly. So here they are. Yeah. That's why it was like the Ajax switch where I was like,
whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, like, oh no, not my favorite character, Ajax. But but I liked it. Like, and I found the execution of these characters and the impact of humanity on them to be like beautiful and moving. Gilgamesh was great.
Gilgamesh, spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. It's just so funny because it's like obviously Gilgamesh is a different character in the comics, like a vigilante of the Eternals. Like if you break the law within
they
the
send
Eternals,
Gilgamesh after
Gilgamesh will find you.
Yeah.
He doesn't work for the Eternals. He doesn't work for them. Like it's just he lives on the fringes and does his thing.
Druig was so good.
Druig was spectacular.
Yeah.
He was very good and like really leaned into what you think you know about Druig.
Yeah.
So pleasantly surprised by his turn as well. But I'm like, I'm waiting for that shoe to drop, Druig.
Oh yeah, big time.
I'm waiting, honey.
Right?
But yeah, like I'm gonna butcher. Is it Ma Dong Seok?
Ma Dong Seok?
Yeah, like he was so good, just charming and fun, and I really liked his like charisma and interaction with Angelina Jolie quite a bit.
And there's an element that I was like, oh my god, we're doing this with the character of Karan, and I was like, and I was baffled by how well they executed it. They took this thing where they're like, and I think it's just because of the deliberateness of the movie, where every character in the movie outside of Kit Harington, of course, is not human. And so now we need a character who's like hilarious, like a character who's like, what? We need a Kat Dennings put in this movie. And so they have Harish Patel's character of Karan in this movie, who is funny. You know, on paper it's like fun and the funny guy. But ends up actually having like depth and character and is used appropriately. I was like, wow. Like what? What movie are you making here? You know, where he like performs, you know, ceremonies because they don't presumably have them in their culture, who on behalf of humanity like thanks them for their like efforts,
for their service.
Like, that's like, wow, really? That's really cool. He doesn't like fart or fall down, you know. It was less than obvious.
He has one running gag and it's just funny. It's actually just funny.
Exactly.
I'm like, that's cute. I'm fine.
So ultimately, I mean, like, and then there's the I guess we could talk about Kit Harington, because I remember them casting him and knowing they weren't going to do anything with him. Kit Harington plays Black Knight.
Excuse me, he plays Dane Whitman.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Who's that? We all know damn well who that is. So much so the movie knows damn well who that is. The movie's like, I'm gonna go talk to my uncle. Wink. My uncle, you know, the one I don't get along with because he's Black Knight. Black Knight's like a bad guy.
Wink.
Wink. Get it?
Like, what's wrong with your eye, man?
Nothing. I'm just being in a Marvel movie. But I thought he did a nice job. Like he services the plot and his own story well. And I was like, good for you.
Yeah.
And like, hey, you know what's cool? Black Knight. Like, you know what's cool? Putting you in other movies.
Yes. Yeah.
So go for it. Nice job. I don't want to go down every single character in this movie, but like,
just like covered like the main ones there. Because you know each Eternal did bring something to the table.
Yes.
Each actor, you know, brought something to the character that you know was either you know just something that you read on a page and then they brought it to life. You know, again with Sprite and her desire to be an adult, or with Cersei and her desire to have a connection with humanity.
Right.
You know, there's something there and they really did bring it to life. And I just, you know, I think there's something to be appreciated about that because, you know, I'm sure a lot of actors, regardless of how much the critics or random directors seem to hate superhero movies, but I think a lot of actors, you know, enjoy the idea of having an opportunity to be in one. Now, am I saying that I think that they believe it's like the greatest
honor
peak of their like acting career? No,
absolutely
but
not.
like it is an opportunity to do something kind of fun and you know, to have an impact on pop culture.
Right.
But knowing that, listen, you're going to be in the Eternals. Oh, who are they? Well,
not you know, not very exciting. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately this is a great movie, and I thought it was like I liked the journey. I liked the respect they paid to the characters. I thought the interactions were great, and ultimately I just enjoyed the flick.
I did too.
The whole plot of the Earth being a gestation point for a Celestial. I was like, which book did I read that in? Was that Earth X? But there's like a lot of like ideas that are used where Earth is a place where there's going to be a celestial born. And
Yes.
look, we got a scene where
and they do, it's the golden celestial, you know what I mean?
yeah. You had a theory. It's not a theory, but it's just what you expect to happen. Because like there's a moment where Arishem is outside of Earth, and it's just, oh, you did the Galactus shot already. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think they're gonna do here?
I honestly don't remember what I said.
You just said that you're like Galactus is gonna be a celestial.
Oh yeah.
In the MCU.
Yeah.
Because like Ego can be a celestial, and it's like Ego's not a celestial.
Yeah.
But in the MCU, it's like celestials can take different forms and become different things. Like
Yeah.
Ego was one, and I think Galactus is one. And I think you're totally on point with that. I think that Arishem said something like, "Well, I'm gonna come back, and when I do, it's gonna be hell to pay." And it's like probably they're gonna adjudicator him, where it's like Galactus is what we send to planets that are doomed.
Mm-hmm.
Now it could be, you open the movie with having Galen kill all the Celestials, and like he's the only one left, and he's like, I hunger,
right?
And so he becomes like, sure, they sent me to Earth, but like, screw them, and also I'm just gonna eat everything I want. Like I'm just gonna go through the cosmos.
Yeah,
and like we've seen, I mean,
yeah, my job is taking care of the birth of Celestials, and my job is cleaning up.
I clean up the mess. I eat the planet
messes.
Yeah. If you think I was not going to eat that planet before that Celestial was born, you got another thing coming. But I would love to see that. That's like an implication that I was just like, oh, hey, yay. Because like you can't put a big purple space monster outside of Earth and expect anyone to not go, isn't that just Galactus?
He's red.
Yeah, he's purple.
He's red.
He's like fuchsia.
No, he's red.
He looked great, by the way.
Yeah, he did. He really did. He's, like what it is with like, we did our Halloween episode, we talked about Lovecraftian beings, and the idea that it's something so far beyond, and like without like the morality and the ideology of whatever of humans, but like something you've never seen before and something you can't comprehend. We've seen Celestials before,
not that up close, but
that up close, but I thought they did a really nice job of like transcribing something that theoretically a person didn't make,
right?
Even though it has like arms and legs and stuff like that, right? That, like a person didn't make that, even though they did. Like,
exactly.
Jack Kirby did design them.
Exactly. So I dug it, and I recommend it.
Yes.
I'm going to jump into some super chats before we get into the post-credit scenes.
Sure.
If that's okay with you?
Yeah. No. Go ahead. We could talk a lot about this because there was a lot to like about it.
Yeah.
But just I enjoyed it.
Right.
And like I said,
well, I'm really glad I didn't hear about the criticism before I saw it.
Me too.
Because it would have colored my
because I just got to go, and that's what I could say. If you haven't seen it yet and you're waiting for it to be on demand or whatever, like, and you're listening to us, well, thank you very much for being here, and I appreciate it. And hopefully we didn't spoil anything for you, but because
we did.
But my one like piece of advice is just try to go in there with an open mind and like just make your own decisions, because maybe you end up agreeing with the criticism or maybe you don't, but like having the opportunity like I did to go into that being like, I know something about Eternals, let's see. And like I said, like all I had to do was remind myself that like they have to change this to make this work.
Right. Scarlet Hottie says, I liked Eternals, but none of these movies use Kirby's art as well as they ought. Sadly, this one included. If you watch Thor Ragnarok, they just pull Jack Kirby art and put it up on the walls. So there you go. But thank you very much. I'm glad you dug it. Adam Thenhaw says, on the one hand, the script felt a bit shallow, but on the other hand, it was cinematically the closest to Kirby cosmic either of the big two have ever made me feel, and I'm here for it. Keep them lights on. Thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I do feel like it's funny because it's like you're dealing with like a team.
Yes.
And naturally when you think of a team, the cliche is getting the band back together,
right,
or forming up for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And so Zhao had the like task of being like, no, they just kind of came together, but like I also do want to do getting the team back together.
Right.
So make that work.
Dan V900, Yasmin Putri doing her first interior work with Dark Knights of Steel and how good it looks is impressive. What a great start, since it's not that easy. Agreed. Yeah, I dug their art a lot. Sean Conwell says they should have adapted Gaiman's story, to be honest. Great intro for the characters and explains their absence in the greater events. Also seems they pulled some Earth X elements with the Celestials, which was an odd choice. Yeah, that's a lot of people's interpretation of the Celestials anyway, and I think it's because of like cultural impact or cultural inception. But apropos of Gaiman's story, I think they kind of did, but like not really.
They didn't really at all.
Yeah.
There was listen, there is a shot in this movie that is there, and I was like, "Ooh!" We never come back to it.
No.
It is never addressed, never explained.
What is it?
It is literally a shot under a pier with a deviant creature coming up out of the ocean. It stops and goes back, and sitting on the sand is a dude who's like seemingly like possibly hobo-ish, if you will, like in a coat, hood up. You can't see his face, and there's a dog, and I'm like, Zuras.
It probably is. It's probably like a wink and like a blink and you'll miss it kind of moment, though. But yes,
that's what I assumed it was. I don't know. I saw it weeks ago, and I'm still thinking about that. But like that for me was like, I was like, oh, they are gonna do the gaming thing. It's amazing because they're gonna fight Zuras, and then because like some Hayek thinks she's in charge. That's not what it's gonna be. Oh no, we're not gonna talk about that.
No. Maybe they didn't have time.
I'm not gonna talk about that. Why would you show me that?
I don't know.
Please show me that. Again,
Cosmic Reader, I honestly didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I hope regardless Marvel won't be frightened to try a film with the scope again. I think they will be, unfortunately. I think the overwhelmingly loud reaction online, I think, is going to always scare studios into doing into overcorrection.
I don't know, because I'm seeing a lot of articles like writing about it, talking about like this division just in general, and how it's like, listen, I liked it.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like people coming out more to say like, no, I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay. Soup or Man, absolutely loved the cast. It's not perfect, but it's top tier for me personally for the philosophical and cosmic aspect alone. Celestials were dope.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, they were. They really were.
BB Metalhead 04. If I had a nickel for every time Gemma Chan was in a movie where a celestial being lay dormant beneath Earth, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened more than once. That's fair. Rusky 910. I think Eternals is a great character origin, but they need to just enter the world after that and mingle with humanity and deal with the human issues.
Yeah, and I absolutely.
I think
they will.
Well, I hoped they would, but I feel like the mid-credit scene is going to suggest that they are not.
I think some of them might.
Yeah, maybe.
What I liked though, like what I like about having set them up like this though, is that like you open the door to recognizing that like these guys have been doing this way longer than the MCU heroes.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. I think it's kind of cool.
Paul Williams, what's strange is I'm seeing a bunch of movie critics panning this movie for being too Marvel.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, listen, I think it still is it still a Marvel movie?
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. But I think they did try to switch things up as they could, but you can't make critics happy.
No.
Once they've decided they don't like a genre of movie, that's it.
Especially if they've like planted their flag or they're like aggregated into Rotten Tomatoes. Superman Returns to say, I wish we could see the Avengers reaction to a god showing up in the sky, and I think that's what first Thor was supposed to feel like, but couldn't be done then. Yeah, they couldn't do that, unfortunately. I mean, they played with it, but it's like Thor is he's not supposed to be scary. It's not supposed to be like, holy crap, God's here and he's pissed. Like, it's just kind of like, oh, God's here and he's drunk. Valentino G, I liked it quite a lot. I love the Icarus Makari fight at the end. It was like Superman versus Flash. We never got in the Justice League.
Yeah, it made me think of, for sure, like the cartoons and all of that. Like they were like, I thought they handled the like speedster element really, really well. I really
did something else with it.
Yeah, they did something else with it. I really, really liked the effect on Makari's running. And yeah, I don't think for a second you weren't meant to think that. But I believe Zhao is a fan of Snyder's work.
Okay.
On
that wouldn't surprise me to see Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, and Green Lantern being in this movie.
Yes, no, for sure. But like and I'm sure there are people out there just being like, they stole that. And it's like, technically Jack Kirby came up with
all those powers.
The Eternals. They've been here for a while. You know what I mean? Not that I'm saying he invented those characters on the other side, but like, you're gonna have to take that fight back,
right?
Quite some years,
exactly.
Quite some years to make this that argument work.
Well, I'm not going to do that because the world started in the year 2000 for me.
I forgot about that. Right.
Cosmic Reader says the MCU is throwing so much on the table: multiverse, possibly Thunderbolts, whatever alien is going to be in Shang-Chi's rings, and now Celestials. I am so lost on the next end goal for the MCU. It's because there isn't one.
No, but like what I do like are the doors they're kicking open.
Yeah.
All of these movies so far are just kicking doors.
Exactly. And seeing like what one we're going to go through, what ones we're going to go
through. Or
through.
What's coming out.
Exactly. What's going to come through them. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because you got street level, you got cosmic, you got space, you got mystical, multiverse, TV, you got it all.
Mhm.
Danville 900. So they have to release that Kingo and Valet documentary somewhere, right? Don Lee as Gilgamesh felt underutilized along with Makari. I didn't buy Selma Hayek as Ajak. She didn't have the gravitas.
Well, Ajak's really, Zuros is really supposed to be in charge, and so like I appreciate her being there because again they're doing a different take on what it is to be the leader of the Eternals.
Yeah.
So that really didn't bother me too much. Just a different take on the character in general, and like characters like Selma Hayek and Angelina Jolie, like some like older Hollywood kind of like royalty here. I appreciated them like really just stepping back a bit in order to let some new blood out and do their thing. Gilgamesh, while he may not have been on screen a lot, I felt like every time he was, it was impactful.
I agree. Yeah, I thought everybody who showed up, I did feel Makari wasn't used as often, but like,
yes,
but when she was used, it was awesome.
Yeah, but like, there's a point to that we don't pick her up till later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Storm King, Gilgamesh was rumored to be the first immortal in Highlander. Is this a backdoor to the Highlander cinematic universe? My conspiracy brain is running wild. No, there's no way. There's no way. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, no, no, that's exactly what it is.
No.
Yeah.
But I would love to see that. I want them to reboot Highlander and make it better. They're never going to do that. Rusky 910.
He's just kidding,
I know. but when I hear about Highlander, I'm like, come on.
No, but seriously.
That face when Arisham sends Galactus to eat Earth and Reed Richards comes back 2 hours later to have words. Right? That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Cowboy, I would like to see Superior Iron Man in the villain verse. The arc is slept on. Thanks, ComicPop. Yeah, that'd be great. Dan V900, I do think it would have been a much better show compared to a movie to allow for more character development. The second post-credit scene was shot oddly. It's like not showing Fury at the end of Iron Man 1.
We'll talk about post-credits, but that's super spoiler territory in my opinion. Like the post-credits almost at this point have more impact for some people than the main film that they are there to see.
Well, the post-credit scene is the most Marvel thing in the movie.
No, for sure. But I'd say like while I get where you're coming from in terms of the character development, because it really would have allowed you to like really slowly peel away at the onion that is the Eternals.
It's true.
But the visuals wouldn't have been able to be as spectacular as they were. So on the other hand, I'm kind of like, I don't know.
Oats are delicious with an adorable super sticker. Thank you so much. I'm sorry we can't show it right now, but I know you like it.
I think I saw it.
Yeah.
I think I saw it.
Thank you very much,
It
Oats.
is super adorable.
Yay.
This is my hero, and I love the fact that your name is Oats are delicious.
I know. RK, while I love Putri's art, I feel that fantasy art should be a little more detailed. I like the finale of Grant's Green Lantern series had great designs. Agreed. Yes, it did. I think we're up to Lewis.
I haven't seen enough of the book for me to say anything.
No, it's true. Lewis Cox, I have a question. Will we ever see The One Above All in the MCU? Anything's possible. You may have already seen The One Above All since it's God, but probably not anytime soon.
My brain just made like a super stupid, like, it's like this, like Arisham's here, and then like The One Above All is here. And he's like,
hey,
no,
yeah,
why?
That'd be fine with me.
Stop above alling me.
Yeah, I'm above you. So post-credit scenes.
We're going to talk about post-credit scenes. So if you haven't seen the movie, now would be the time to definitely stop listening to us.
So the first one is Kit Harington's like teased about being Black Knight the whole movie.
This is my favorite one.
Yeah.
Simply because of the interaction with the people sitting next to us.
Right.
Shout out to the guy sitting next to me in this theater. My dude came to the theater with a book.
Yeah.
With a real book and was just reading it as he is simultaneously holding 3 choice seats. Well, 2 choice seats because he's got one of them for his friends who arrived right before the movie started.
Yeah.
This dude was holding them before we even got there. Do not envy him. Solid friend.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 friend sitting there reading his book.
Agreed.
But
yeah, so
but like he had a great reaction. He and his friends. Anyway, go ahead.
Dane opens up this box. He's got the ebony blade already. He opens it up. He's gonna touch it. He's reaching for it, and then all of a sudden, an unseen voice over her shoulder says something like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, who is it?" And if you know voices or actors' voices, you're like, yeah, I know who that is. But apparently people were like not sure who that was.
Which is so funny because I don't know actors, nor do I know voices, but I was like, I know what character that is.
Right, of course. And it's like it could be anybody, it shouldn't be anybody, and it could be another door being kicked open, another door like the Eternals where it's like, who asked for this? And that's who you believe it is.
I believe.
I think we're sure, but like I don't know.
I think we're sure, but we don't know. So like I believe that it's Blade.
Right. That it's Ali as Blade. They've already cast him. They didn't show him because they haven't probably figured out the look for Blade yet. And as you know, because you've read some of Captain Britain and the MI-13.
Yeah.
What 2 characters are on that book?
Mm-hmm.
Black Knight and Blade. If they want to go with Blade being British.
Sure. And also, it's not like Blade couldn't be putting together a Midnight Suns team.
Yeah, you could get Midnight
include,
Suns.
Yeah, like it was funny though. The guy sitting next to me, his friend was like, "It was Nick Fury," and I looked at him. I was like, "It's Blade."
And he's like, "Oh, Blade!"
The dude next to me was like, "Oh, that's who it is." It's Blade.
Yeah, and that'd be freaking dope. Yeah. So yeah, I've heard rumors that I not rumors. I saw somebody emphatically say definitively. They were like, "It is obviously Jeffrey Wright, and it's clearly the Watcher." And I'm like, "No."
That's my pitch. That it's Blade. That's why I want. Maybe I just want it so badly.
No, but it's Blade
because like that's setting up again another thing that
that like what
I really want to see. You already got Strange, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just do it.
Yeah,
you got the game coming out.
Yeah.
You're already putting those words into the cultural zeitgeist.
Right, that's true. Yeah. So we got that. Whoa, Black Knight will probably be Black Knight off screen and be in a team book, team movie, which is a great idea. Don't waste money trying to make a Black Knight movie all by yourself, unless you want to take my ideas, which is if you want to make a movie about a character who doesn't need to look flashy, like Black Widow, you make the movie $40 million and you give it to somebody who knows how to do that, like somebody who makes like Dread or something.
Okay, apparently, listen. People are saying that in interviews, the director confirmed it was Blade.
All right.
Don't forget, though, I called it was Blade.
When we didn't even know.
Goddamn interviews out there.
But that's great. So
why can't I? You folks don't let me have my moments.
No, you don't.
You guys don't like me. I get it. It's fine. Anyway, next post-credit scene.
Next post-credit scene has the worst CG in the movie.
You really didn't like that.
It was horrible.
It wasn't great. It didn't bother me, but you really, I know you were like, ugh.
I was like, wow, that's really bad.
You really were upset. I get it.
Also, it was like the laziest casting I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Pip the Troll shows up. No, I'm not a big Pip the Troll fan, but it was pretty fun to see Pip the Troll show up.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Patton Oswalt plays Pip the Troll.
Of course he does.
What an obvious decision.
It is very obvious.
Like, what an obvious decision. Whatever. You know what? Like, I can't have an opinion about that because I don't like Pip the Troll. That being said, when did Chronicles of Narnia come out? Like
a while ago.
Like 15 years ago. Mr. Tumnus looks better. And if Mr. Tumnus looks better from an 11-year-old movie, you have no excuse for making Pip the Troll look like Jar Jar Binks.
Maybe it was one of those they weren't sure they were putting it in.
Clearly they weren't, because he looks like garbage.
Well, it doesn't mean he won't look better later.
But then Harry Styles shows up.
Think about how cool it was when you first saw Gollum and how great he looked.
Yeah.
And then he didn't.
Yeah. He still looks better.
He does look better.
Better than Pip the Troll.
I'm just saying that, like, I liked the original design of Gollum.
Oh yeah, no,
him. He was
yeah.
creepy and scary
Fellowship Gollum is way better than.
He's so scary.
Than naked homeless person Gollum.
Yeah. So anyway.
But then Harry Styles shows up dressed as Star Fox, and I was like, oh, because I forgot, because I don't know anybody.
And hang on, for those who he's not talking about.
Oh, the N64, the video game, the Nintendo character. No, Eros, brother of Thanos, which they say in the movie.
They say it in the movie.
Which is like, what? So you are gonna say that Thanos is an Eternal? Okay, or was? But if he was, then that means he's in the machine.
It doesn't mean he's brought back. He could be like.
But he could be.
No, well, yes, he can be, but like that he would have been like exiled basically.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, he was exiled. But yeah. So Star Fox shows up, which is funny because the theater lost it, and I'm like, is everyone here a huge nerd and knows who Eros Star Fox is? Or and then I realized like, oh, Harry Styles apparently some beloved actor, and I was like, oh, people were just excited to see him, and I was like, that is brilliant casting, and it's lazy and it's shorthand, but it was brilliant because the audience was huge. And it was like, oh, I guess if you want Star Fox to work, you have to cast somebody that the audience is going to recognize immediately and enjoy. I guess that's why Chris Pratt keeps getting work.
It's a me.
I'm Mario. If he says Mario, that'd be great. There's no way he's not. There's no way he's going to. It's Mario. Anyway, yeah, so he shows up and he's like, hey, well, I'm going to take some Eternals. We're going to go on a crazy space adventure. Woo! You guys going to make that? No? Oh, Eternals is bombing? Okay, we're not going to do that, but I'm still going to be Star Fox.
And here's my co-pilot, Slippy.
Yeah, aka Pip the Troll. But I will, okay, so like that was fun. And here's what I'm thinking.
So, do you know what's funny? The Thanos thing is clearly the mic drop, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I was like,
Yeah, Blade. Well, that's two
That was
different
me.
directions.
That was me. I'm like,
that's two totally different things they're setting up now. Right? But for me, I was like, here's the thing. All right, you got Star Fox.
Yeah.
You got the Eternals. They're in a spaceship.
Yeah, they're doing a spaceship.
They got their spaceship.
They got their big triangle spaceship.
James Gunn's leaving after Guardians 3.
Yeah.
He's probably going to kill Drax. And
sure, because I guess Dave Bautista's done.
Yeah, he's done. But that's fine because like there's a precedent of Drax being a different character. Of Drax shedding his previous body and getting another one. In a book that I'd like to see adapted using any of these characters because they can't use all of them. Some of them have been undone or not introduced. But maybe they'll keep Peter Quill around, right? And hey, we already killed Gamora, so having Gamora back alive, we'll keep her around too. If we're gonna do that, and you're gonna keep this in space, and you can't do an Eternals sequel, you could probably fill in a couple of gaps, recast or cast Richard Rider, and because you have the Fox license, you can do Annihilation now.
Oh yeah, you could.
That's the next thing. Like for me, it's like there will be. The two directions are the mystical, crazy Earth stuff,
yes,
and Annihilation.
But what will the Starjammers show up?
I hope in Annihilation. Because it's funny, I was just thinking about that. I was literally just thinking about the Starjammers because I was like, this movie set up the Midnight Suns or the MI-13 and like whatever, some Eternals and like maybe the Infinity Watch, and I love that. But they're two totally different things that no one is like gonna look forward to making after the failure of the Eternals movie. So it's gonna be like that Starjammers tease at the end of Guardians 2, where it's like, here's a movie they were never gonna friggin' make. And I'm like, maybe they should. Like, make a Starjammers. Well, no, I'm sorry. That was the Ravagers I'm thinking of.
Yeah, you were thinking of the Ravagers.
I was thinking of the Ravagers.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. But they should make a Starjammers movie, though.
Why not?
Right?
What? At this point, now it's why not? Now it's the Wild West.
Yeah, now just make Starjammers. And if they make a Starjammers movie before an X-Men movie, damn you at this point, right? Because if I meet friggin' Corsair before I see Cyclops on screen...
It's an easier jump.
Of course it is.
It's a way easier jump to meet the Starjammers before you meet
Cyclops. We've been to space. We've never seen a mutant. New Type JB Lee says, hey, hope you two are well. Thank you very much. We are. Anyway, hopes our thoughts on Busick and Perez's run on Avengers. Fans feel like it's the last classic Avengers before the Bendis revamp. It's good. It's Avengers. I don't like Avengers without Bendis and stuff, so it's like whatever. Dan V900 says, Sal, Highlander reboot by Chad, blah, 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 who is John Wick director, supposed to be happening. Henry Cavill's cast in May, nothing since. Chloe Zhao has discussed the impact of the Man of Steel on his film, too. Cool. Film. Great.
Yes.
Good.
That's what,
I'm sorry COVID delayed it. I can't wait to see it. Lewis Cox, they could do an MI-13. It could be a series on Disney+. Maybe I would watch it. Maybe.
I would.
I'd definitely watch it.
I would totally watch that.
You kidding me? Yeah.
Although you got to watch out for that because Pete Wisdom's involved with MI-13. He is.
That's fine. Easy enough to do.
He's a mutant.
Yeah, whatever. But by the way, you do that, right? Listen, you know who the main bad guy is?
Who?
Fucking Dracula.
Oh yeah.
And you get Marvel's Dracula.
That'd be okay. We could do Marvel's
Dracula. Who makes like...
You know what they're going to do? They'd have to skirt around the edge of that, right? Because you have like MI-13, and one time they're going to have to run into Captain Britain, but it could still be Captain Braddock.
Yeah.
We just don't talk about his sister.
No.
Or his wife.
That's right. Easy enough. They won't.
Or he's not married.
Or he's not married yet. That's it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You could definitely get Captain Britain in there. Or you flip it up, and there is no Brian Braddock in this universe, and instead, or he is, and he's not important, and Captain Britain is Peggy Carter.
But she's old.
No, from another universe.
Oh, okay. But she's so old.
Yeah, in the canon, but not in real life. But yeah, so it sets up a lot of stuff.
It does, and I just had a nice time with it. Like, I just found it to be a very like. There's there's a piece to it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was engaging and fun. But I It was just, it felt different.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that.
Yeah,
But I completely get it.
Right.
If someone doesn't like it.
Well, and I'm not like, we're not contrarians. Like, I don't
No.
like it because nobody likes it. I didn't like it because it's different. I
Oh
don't,
no, because we enjoyed it before the reviews are
no,
out.
but I'm saying like it was different. It feels different, but it's not.
Yeah.
I didn't like it for the qualities of it was different.
No. Oh no, no, no. No, just because I was like, yeah.
I'm digging what you're selling, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. So 2 thumbs up from ComicPop for the
Cool.
Eternals. Good job. Please write more. That's my note. But otherwise, we want to thank you so much for hanging out with us. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and over at youtube.com/ComicPop and follow us for more. Go to twitch.tv/ComicPop and watch Tiffany play video games Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We'll see you guys next week with an all new episode of Off the Rack. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
So long, everybody. Thanks all for watching.
Bye.